أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. There is a dua that was said in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Though it's not verified that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said this himself, it was a dua that was commonly referred to in the months preceding Ramadan after him in the Tabi'un and Tabi'un. And so what this dua is Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, bless us in Rajab and Sha'ban and allow us to reach the month of Ramadan. And so what is exactly this blessing that we are striving toward in the months of Rajab and Sha'ban, right? Like, why are the months of Rajab and Sha'ban emphasized in this dua? And what exactly is the purpose of this? What do we take out of it? And so, if you have been to any other khutbah before, maybe like in this time, in the previous years, you may have heard something that our elders say, that the month of Rajab is the month of planting our seed, for say a fruit tree, right? The month of Rajab is where we plant our seeds. The month of Sha'ban is then the month of irrigating or watering that plant. And the month of Ramadan is harvesting the fruits of that tree. And so, with us being in the current month of Rajab, the 7th month of the Islamic calendar, it's also the beginning of the spiritual season, if you would like to say. It's also the month in which the event of Isra and Miraj occurred, which was the journey of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Mecca to Jerusalem, and then from there he ascended into the heavens. And so the month of Rajab, with its coming and with now us being in the second last week of Rajab, it means that the month of Ramadan is just around the corner. And so it's a reminder for us that we need to prepare for this holy month of Ramadan. Right? Like, arguably as a Muslim, we would see the month of Ramadan to be one of the most important months for us in the Islamic year. In every way possible, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And so how exactly can we prepare for this month of Ramadan that we are coming toward? And so the first thing I would like to touch on is to self-reflect, encourage all of us to self-reflect, and for us to purify our intentions right now in the month of Rajab. And so we should spend some time alone and reflect on how we can improve physically and spiritually. And we should ask ourselves questions like, if I was to die today, would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with me? Am I sincere in my words and in my actions, and am I conscious of how I treat others? What can I do to improve spiritually, and am I doing my best to prepare for the month of Ramadan, and what is it that I can do better? Right? And as human beings, we all make mistakes, and it's always the right time to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. After all, He's the most forgiving and the ever merciful. And so we should strive for sincere repentance and ask of those for forgiveness who we may have wronged. And we should ask them to forgive us, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all of the children of Adam constantly make error, but the best of those who do make error are those who constantly repent. Right? And this was narrated in Tirmidhi. And so going back to this analogy of our elders, where we're planting a seed essentially in the month of Rajab, this means for us to make goals now of what we want to accomplish in the month of Ramadan, right? So say our masjid, our local masjid, they pray 20 rakats of tarawih, and we want to try our best to go for the maximum ajr, right? We also want to stay there for that 20 rakats. But if we wait until the month of Ramadan starts, we might ace the first day, we'll do all 20 in the first day, then the second day we'll cut it down to maybe 18, then the third day maybe 16, and then eventually, soon enough, we'll be struggling to even make the 8 rakats, right? And we get tired and we get out of shape, and it's a natural thing that occurs to us as human beings. But what we need to do is we need to start working now to be able to have that stamina when we reach Ramadan, right? So if we start praying our nawafil now, if we start waking up for tahajjud now, then we'll have built up that stamina by the time we get to the month of Ramadan. And so one of the things that I've seen in our communities, in university, in high schools, and even in professional settings, is that for Muslims, one of the hardest things is balancing our professional lifestyles with our religion, right? And so another thing that we have seen, especially in the month of Ramadan, I believe it's the entirety of this month of March, that's like midterms for universities, for 9 to 5s, that's just a normal month. You're still going to be working. And so say if you want to wake up for Qiyamul Layl at our masjid, and Qiyamul Layl, as we may know, that's like 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes. How do we expect ourselves to wake up for that if we're not even able to wake up in our own homes right now for 2 rakats of tahajjud, right? Let alone getting into our cold cars in the morning and then driving over to the masjid. And so essentially what I'm trying to emphasize right now is that we need to start acting upon our goals for Ramadan today if we want to maximize our benefit and what we want to achieve out of this month of Ramadan. And additionally, in these goals, one of the things that I want to encourage myself first and foremost, and all of us to do, is to let off any bad habits that we currently have. And one of the critical issues that I've seen today is, once again, going back to Islam and our balance with our professional lives. And sometimes we get caught up in whatever work we're doing. Say we have homework, or if you're doing a job, you're on some project, and you might delay your salah. You'll say, after I finish this amount of work, then I'll go pray my dhuhr, then I'll go pray my asr. But soon enough, we see that there's only 2 minutes left before the next adhan, or sometimes we might not even see it and we'll miss that salah, right? And another thing that has been seen in our communities is, especially for our youth, is that in today's time, it's a bit difficult to embody a true Muslim character, right? So say a Muslim kid, he comes to the masjid. I've seen amongst my own friend groups, and I've seen in our communities, and it's something that some parents have brought up, and it's something that is a concern, that a kid may act one way inside of a masjid, but when he's with his friends at school, it's an entirely different story, right? Like, for example, the usage of profanity. We've seen it so much, and it's unfortunately a very bad thing. And we just need to constantly remind ourselves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching our every action. It does not matter where we are. And so, the same way we don't use profanity at the masjid, it's the same way we shouldn't be using it in our worldly lives as well. And this is just a mere example. There's a lot of other things that also happen. But with these habits of unfortunately doing whatever it is that we do, or any other imperfection that we may have, it's okay to be imperfect as humans, but it is also our duty and responsibility to fix that imperfection and to strive for greatness in our own lives, right? It's our duty and our responsibility to replace these bad habits with good ones, and with that we can improve ourselves, improve our relations within our community, and with that it's also moving closer and closer to the character that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam upheld himself to. And subhanAllah, if there are people who might think that they have already fixed all of their shortcomings, then I truly aspire to be like you. But in that state, we should still be moving forward to, like I said, the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as much as we can. And so one of the things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would do in these months leading up to the month of Ramadan was that he would fast a lot, right? And I'll share a quick interaction of Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in regard to the month of Sha'ban, which for us would start in maybe 10 days. And so it's narrated in An-Nasa'i that Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu had asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, I have never seen you offer fast as much as you do outside of the month of Ramadan in the month of Sha'ban. So essentially what he's saying is, outside of the month of Ramadan, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performs voluntary fast the most in the month of Sha'ban. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then replied to him, trying to give him reasoning for why he does this. He says that the month of Sha'ban, it is a month that people disregard because it falls in between the month of Rajab, which is where Isra Mi'raj happens, one of the holy months, and the month of Ramadan, which of course is the month of fasting. And so the month of Sha'ban is essentially neglected. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then tells Usama bin Zayd radiallahu anhu that in this month our deeds are presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the world, Rabbul Alameen. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he likes for his deeds to be presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he is in a state of fasting. And so we should take inspiration from this. And on Mondays and Thursdays, many of us already know that Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would fast on Mondays and Thursdays. And when he was asked about it, he said that the deeds of people are presented to Allah on these days, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives every Muslim except for those who are deserting each other. And so, as we encourage developing good habits, I want to very quickly emphasize this last sentence of this hadith that I just mentioned, that Allah forgives every Muslim except for those who are deserting each other. And with this being said, some of us may have gotten into an argument with, say, one of our close friends, or within our own families, with our siblings, with our parents, or something of that sort. And the reality of this world is that these things will happen. There's always going to be ups and downs, but it's the way that we resolve our issues, right? We should be doing our best to resolve these issues between ourselves, and we should be seeking forgiveness from each other if we may have hurt someone. And so I start by asking all of you, if I may have hurt anyone, then I ask you for forgiveness, and I encourage you to ask each other for forgiveness if there is anything that may have occurred between you. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran in regard to these types of disputes, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If you pardon, overlook, and forgive their faults, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is truly the all-forgiving and the ever-merciful. And so with that, I would like to reiterate that let us use these months leading up to Ramadan to let go of our bad habits, replace them for new ones, and encourage good amongst ourselves. And I encourage us to make intentions, to purify these intentions, to seek forgiveness from ourselves to seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from one another, and to give charity, to make up our fast if we still need to from the previous years, make voluntary fast if we have the ability to do so, wake up for tahajjud if we can, pray our sunnahs and our nawafil as much as we can, and rekindle our relations with one another. And by planting these seeds now, we build habits and intentions that will flourish during this holy month of Ramadan. And so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the strength to use this time wisely, forgive our shortcomings, and bless us with the ability to enter the month of Ramadan with hearts full of iman and readiness. Allahumma ameen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Oh Allah, we ask you to send peace and blessings and salutations upon our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, upon his family, upon all of his companions, and upon all of those who come after him in this ummah up until the day of judgment. Ya Allah, we ask you to ease the suffering of our Muslim brothers and sisters anywhere in the world. We ask you to end the sufferings and tribulation in Gaza. We ask you to end the suffering and tribulation in Kashmir, in China, in Sudan, and wherever else there may be a Muslim in distress, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, you are our protector, so protect us, Ya Allah. Allahumma la tada' lana fi maqamina hadha dhanban illa ghafarta, wa la hamman illa farajta, wa la karban illa nafasta, wa la dhallan illa hadayta, wa la maridan illa shafayta, wa la maytan illa rahimta, wa la hajatan min hawaij ad-dunya wal akhirah hiya laka ridan wa lana fiha salahun illa a'antana ala qada'iha wa yassartaha bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ibadullah, ittaqullah, rahimakumullah. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى مولى وأذل وأجل أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.